The battle of sportswear giants all vying for the big prize. China, a booming $25 billion market. Welcome to Managing Asia. I'm Christine Tan. Today we're talking to the man in the center of the fight, Colin Curry from Adidas. It's game on for Colin Curry. He's picking up speed in the race to overtake Nike, Adidas' biggest nemesis in China.
In the next 5 to 10 years, this market is going to be strategically important for the group. It's the fastest growing market for the Adidas group in 2015.
Is it the most profitable as well?
And it's the most profitable.
The Adidas brand tied up with Nike at 12% market share in China in 2014, according to market research firm Euromonitor. In a country where Nike has dominated for years, can Adidas finally break through the barrier? Okay, what do we do?
Okay.
Curry seems driven enough.
This is the setup position, but I say 3.
I challenged him to a test of stamina.
Tighten your abs, contract everything, focus.
So how competitive are you?
Well, let's see who wins this.
You really hate to lose, right?
I'm naturally
You don't want to lose to me, you know. I can be very competitive.
I'm sure you can. I'm naturally quite a competitive person. As we talked about, passion, we want to win.
Tell you what, if you win, it means you really want to overtake Nike. You really think you can compete.
Okay, let's
with
try.
Nike.
Okay, so I need to concentrate now. How are you feeling?
Good?
Yeah, good.
enough?
Okay, okay.
No pressure.
I do you a deal. We do 2 minutes, we both stop, okay?
That's a cop-out.
You can laugh.
2 minutes. Okay.
Okay, deal?
Deal.
5, 4, 3, 2. Good job.
Okay.
I'm competitive.
You are competitive. There I was about to go down.
All right, I'll let you win.
High five.
At 2 minutes, we drew a tie.
It's a tie, it's a tie.
But on a serious note, Curry is facing his toughest challenge yet in China, where the stakes are in billions of dollars and the consumers call the shots. It's a market that Curry turned around when he took over the top job there. He drew up a game plan called Route 2015 that got Adidas back on track. The most difficult part of it, Colin says, was navigating the complexities in China.
Being in Shanghai, where our headquarters is, and saying, okay, how can we own a city like Chengdu or Chongqing, just proves a lot of complexity. And I'll never get out to all these cities and see all those stores. The most important thing, though, is understanding the consumer. And that's what we've done in our 2010 plan when we developed our Route 2015 road path, understanding the Chinese consumer, whether they're in the north or in the south or in different provinces, and what do they actually need from a sports brand, what inspires them to do sport and participate in sport, and I think we cracked that.
But 7 years ago, Adidas got lost in the maze. The Beijing Olympics 2008 taught it big lessons. It had splurged more than $80 million on sponsorships, but ended up with a huge access inventory and a future that hung in the balance. Adidas lost ground, slipping back to 4th position in China.
The 2008 Olympics was the height of sporting events. All brands had a lot of euphoria and optimism. So inventory was building up, and all brands went through some turbulence, especially in 2009, where shortly after the Games, the financial crisis came in. So we had to mitigate ourselves through that turbulence, and we decided to pull back a bit and therefore ended up in our 4th position. I came on board with my management team and set a plan for 5 years that would see us regain our position as the leading sports brand in China. Even though during the period of 2012 and 2013, the industry actually went through a period of restructuring. Actually, a lot of the local brands were trying to get rid of their inventory problems from 2008. And all brands actually went through negative growth. But Adidas grew positively, and we took great market share.
Adidas shook up its retail outlets, threw away its one-size-fits-all concept, and honed in on 5 segments, including football, running, and women. It also went on the offensive in lower-tier cities, doubling retail presence in the past 5 years and scoring revenues of 1.8 billion euros in Greater China in 2014.
Well, we open about 500 stores a year, okay, and 50% of them are in lower tier cities and 50% are in the higher tier cities. We believe that we want to go into a city when it's ready for the consumer to access our product, who want to buy our product for sport.
What sort of market data do you rely on?
We look at the census. We work with partners who understand the city's wealth. We call them MAC population. It's middle income consumers. So when a Chinese consumer earns 70,000 RMB a year, we call them a MAC consumer. And then we calculate how many MAC consumers are in a particular city, and then when the methodology works out and the science, we then go and penetrate that city and open a store. And generally in those cities, there's only one trade zone. There's one high street. So you open a store there, and you then look at the data to see how that store is operating. And as that store operates and more trade zones come in during the economic progress in that city, we start to expand.
But beyond the math, what does it take to crack the Chinese market? A place where homegrown brand leaning is still struggling. Where's the tailwind?
Obviously, a consumer in a lower tier city doesn't have as much disposable income as a consumer in a higher tier city. So therefore, when they buy sports gear, they want to buy sports gear for multiple occasions. They want a versatile piece of footwear, or they want some apparel that they can do sport in, but they also can go to social occasions. And do you know, in lower tier cities, it's okay to go to a wedding in adidas.
Really?
It's actually accepted, or go to work. So as we talked about the complexity, acceptance of where sports products are worn in a higher tier city or a lower tier city can differ greatly.
You've been quoted once saying that you actually follow Kentucky Fried Chicken whenever they get into a lower tier city. What is it about KFC's footprint in China that you like?
Well, I was actually in a marketing conference doing a presentation in Australia when I did that, so it was a bit tongue-in-cheek. But there is some logic to what I said there. Kentucky Fried Chicken was one of the first pioneers in fast food in China. And in fact, when they penetrated lower tier cities through a similar methodology as we do now, that was what I was referring to.
So wherever KFC is, there is an Adidas store?
No, not really. But the logic is right.
How often do you refresh or revitalize your stores?
Every 3 years we'll upgrade our stores, but we do consumer research every year, and based on that and based on the sell-through that we get from over 8,000 stores on a daily basis by article, we know exactly what a consumer is buying. We have top 10 bestsellers or flop 10, and we can then
flop 10?
Yeah, we have flop 10. We call them flop 10. Yeah. And then we can tailor our assortments. And in fact, different assortments are required for different levels of cities. If you go to a store in Shanghai, you will get a different assortment than if you go to a lower tier city.
Your Route 2015 strategy seems to be paying off. 5 years ago, you were number 4. Now you're tying for pole position in
Correct.
the sportswear market with Nike. Do you think you have what it takes to overtake Nike?
Well, we're certainly challenging them, and it's our goal to win, obviously. We work for a sports goods company, and I have a passion to win.
When do you think that will happen?
I'm not too sure that. I mean, we're transitioning now to our 2020 plan, and our vision now is to be the best sports brand at the end of 2020.
Is there an internal target that you're aiming for?
Sure, of course. We all have internal targets. Let me just tell you about our 2015 growth so far. So in Q3 we grew 15%, and so far for the year-to-date September we're up 18%. So strong double-digit growth, especially over the last 5 years, taken to what is the pole position. We believe that we have what it takes to win. Let's see.
Stay with us. Up next, we ask Colin Curry whether Adidas can continue its growth momentum given the slowdown in China.
Well, this year we're growing year-to-date September at 18%. So we've seen strong double-digit growth going across all our categories, actually.
So how much competition are you facing from local brands like Enter? How much do you have to compete on price? Managing Asia will be right back. German sportswear giant Adidas Group is on a tear, raising marketing spend on sponsorship deals and celebrity partnerships as revenues climbed 13% in Q3. Driven by markets like China and the US. The prominent FIFA sponsor says the corruption scandal at the football governing body has not affected its brand and sales at all. But what about the economic headwinds in China?
Well, this year we're growing year-to-date September at 18%. So we've seen strong double-digit growth going across all our categories actually. Running's up a strong double-digit, training men and women. And women is our fastest growing gender segment. On the style side of our business, our Originals brand, which is the #1 streetwear brand, and Neo, which is the #1 mid-market sports casual brand, we're also up strong double-digit. And I tell you the reason why we're so optimistic about growth. Growth in this year and growth in the coming years. Firstly, the government is investing in sport. They've said they're going to spend over $1 trillion and invest $1 trillion into the industry in the next 10 years. This is great for our industry. Secondly, we see a movement in sport. In the last 18 months, we've seen people take up to running like I never expected. Why? Running has a low entry cost to do the sport, and consumers now see that sport can make them fit, have a better quality of life. So this great movement that we're seeing is happening in Tier 1, Tier 2 cities, and we expect that to transcend all the way down to the lower tier cities. With all of that, we believe the future is bright, and we're not concerned about the economy slowing.
Okay, so last year Greater China was up 10% for the company. This year, what are you expecting?
Year to date, we're 18%, and I hope we can end the year in a strong double-digit momentum.
With all these news of China slowing down, are you more cautious? Are you thinking twice about expanding too fast in China?
Of course we look at our data, and of course we look at the sell-through of our stores, but our comparable sales across all our stores are in double-digit numbers. We haven't seen this for a number of years, especially as I told...
So you're in a sweet spot?
We're in a good spot. We actually believe the next few years are going to be better than the last couple of years when the industry was restructuring from the inventory that we talked about was building up. So we're bullish.
Okay, you have more than 8,000 points of sale across China. As you expand in the next couple of years, what will it look like? Will you still maintain your franchise model? Will that continue to be a big part of your China strategy?
Sure. The franchise model allows businesses to scale and scale quickly. So we'll definitely keep on with our franchise business, especially going into lower tier cities. We as a brand can't reach so far down there and have operations that are able to satisfy consumers' needs and deliver the brand experience. So we need local retail expertise to do that. So our franchisees will be great partners to do this.
What's it like dealing with these local expertise? Do you have any challenges there?
Sure, of course, in all partnerships you have challenges, but they've been with us for the last 15 years, and they've seen adidas grow through. They have the local expertise, we have the international knowledge, and together that's a great partnership.
Any plans to pursue e-commerce?
E-commerce is a big growth driver for us in the coming years, and today it's a relatively small percentage of our business, but as you know, China is the largest e-commerce market in the world, and they have something called Singles Day on the 11th of November. Just a few weeks ago, we did 100 million RMB in 24 hours through our e-commerce site. And we believe the e-commerce channel has great future. So connecting physical stores or brick and mortar with our e-com site is probably the recipe for great success.
How fast do you see e-commerce growing for Adidas in China?
A really strong double-digit. We expect for it to gain a fair bit of our share of business in the coming years.
So how much competition are you facing from local brands like Enter? How much do you have to compete on price?
Well, let's talk about local brands at the moment. Over 50% of the market are brands that we probably never have heard of. We have over 60 local competitor brands that are operating in the China marketplace. We do look at them, especially as their footprint is in lower tier cities. But there's one thing that we understand from the consumer. The consumer today wants to buy international brands. They want to belong to sport brands that have international assets and stars. So our assortment, we believe, is right for that consumer when we are in the same market as some of these other local brands.
So to what extent do you compete on price then?
Well, we will obviously look at the market and we'll look at what our competitors are doing in terms of price. But in the end, an international brand like ourselves, we will price accordingly to what our brand value is and our experiences. So we do look at price. The most important thing, though, is about the assortment. What assortment is in the store in any particular city, and at what price points we put those products at. So in a higher tier city, we'll obviously have more expensive products with better technology, and in a lower tier city, we'll have more mid-market price points. Due to consumer affordability. But as that city gets more sophisticated and that consumer gets more disposable income, we'll change that assortment. But actually, one thing that we found today is that consumers, wherever they are, want to get the best products now. In the last 12 months, they've become so sophisticated that they want the best technology. It doesn't matter if they're in a tier 4 city or a tier 1 city. I think that's the Chinese consumer and the evolvement they're going through in their consumer journey.
This is a country where copycats is clearly a big problem. How are you dealing with this?
Well, obviously, we want to protect our intellectual property, and we have a great division that goes out to work with the various partners out there to mitigate this and combat that. But again, in the end, our target audience is the young consumer. It's not cool to wear a fake. They want the real thing. So in my mind, in the end, the problem will resolve itself.
To really build up the brand, Adidas has signed on global sporting legends like David Beckham, Lionel Messi. What's the next big sporting star in China that you're looking to sign on?
Well, we obviously do a lot of research and analysis and watching young sport athletes coming through. And we're there looking for the next icon. I can't share with you who that would be.
Is it top secret?
Of course. That would be sharing with on your show with the viewers and
Not
maybe
that there's anything wrong with that.
And the competition. Yeah. But obviously we want to have the next icon Chinese athlete, the person who's going to be on the world stage for their country. Keep watching and hopefully we'll be able to share.
So do Chinese consumers find global Western sporting icons more appealing, or do they prefer their own national champions?
I think they're both. I mean, if you're a sports lover, let's talk football, for example. If you follow football and you participate in football, sure, you're going to follow the best teams in the world or the best icons like Lionel Messi or the best clubs. And Adidas has this. We've got such a great portfolio of assets, which is the reason why we're the leading sports brand in football. Take the federations, for example, at the World Cup, and I was lucky to be there in Rio to watch the final. We had Germany play against Argentina. Obviously, we're a German brand, and when Germany won, we were really, really excited about that. But in clubs, we just signed Manchester United, we have Bayern Munich, we have Lionel Messi. So we have a great portfolio of assets, and the reason why football lovers follow the Adidas brand.
China is now the second largest market after the US for Adidas in terms of sales. Do you think China is what it takes to become the #1 market for Adidas?
Well, I think the opportunity is there, and we see great growth potential in the next 5 years. We're the fastest growing market out of the Adidas group in 2015, and we know that China will be the #1 economy in 2020. So in time to come, I do believe we'll get there, but we're certainly the most profitable market for the group today.
Stay with us next. We ask Colin Curry of Adidas about his people philosophy, how he motivates and retains his staff.
We play to win. I think that's one of our kind of leadership values. We also want to attract great talent into our organization.
Do you do a lot of poaching? Managing Asia, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Managing Asia. My guest today is Colin Curry, the man heading up Greater China market for Adidas, the German sportswear maker who's gaining momentum in the world's hottest market. You've invested in a program with the Ministry of Education to really roll out football training across schools in China. Yes. How's it coming along, and what do you hope to get out of this investment? Well,
we want to now invest in grassroots, in the kids of the future. The government has relaxed its one-child policy, and in the next 5 to 10 years that will mean a great opportunity for kids to engage in sport. We've tied up with the Ministry of Education to simply provide access to kids, so access football at schools. We've developed a coaching program, a free app on mobile devices that kids can go into and learn basic football skills and more advanced skills. We just want to have the opportunity to touch those kids, give them a chance to play sport. We have 1,600 kids stores in China. They're on departmental stores, which essential floors, which generally have lots of kids brands. And we built up our store portfolio there, offering the greatest running products, of football products, basketball, etc. Because kids love sports brands.
So Nike has come up with a basketball program. Do you think your football program with the Ministry of Education in China will give you enough firepower in the market?
Sure. Well, the government wants China to succeed in football, and actually from all the way from the top, football is now becoming a policy for the government and for China to perform on the world stage. And football's been chosen as a sport for the curriculum in schools. So our partnership with the Ministry of Education, and if football is going to become one of the core sports taught at schools, I think this is enough firepower for us to be successful.
So you think you're going to win over Nike?
We're going to be competing. As you said, we're in pole position.
And you're 47 years old, Malaysian, graduated with a degree in hospitality. You worked in 6 different industries in 6 different countries before heading up Greater China for Adidas.
Correct.
How would you describe your leadership and your management style?
Well, I'd hope my team would say to you that I have a great passion to win and that we want to win the game here in the China marketplace. My management and leadership style is fairly tough, but I'm fair. I think the great thing about our team and our culture is about collaboration. We need to work together as a team, to work cross-functional. Our business is complex enough, the market is complex enough. By only working together and understand what we all do and our roles, so we're going to be successful. I'm very humbled to captain a team over the last 5 years, and I feel very proud of our achievements.
You're in charge of 3,000 people in Greater China. How do you motivate and inspire your talent? What's your people philosophy like?
Well, we play to win. I think that's one of our kind of leadership values. We also want to attract great talent into our organization.
Is it a challenge to do that, given how fast things are changing in China?
No, because I think that we have a great brand to the outside consumer. A lot of employees or people who would like to become our employees want to work for the adidas brand. What we want to do is provide them with the tools and training to be able to have a better career. And what I really like is that over the last 5 years, I've seen some of our staff and employees grow, and they've become the next generation of leaders, and it's really satisfying to see people evolve their careers and be successful.
Do you do a lot of poaching?
No, we don't. We don't
Not
go
even
out.
From Nike?
We don't go and poach out in the market. In fact, I'm a real fan of internal recruitment, one that is across other markets in the world, to bring diversity into the market, and also to give opportunity to employees who have been with us.
So given what you've experienced turning around the China market in the last 5 years, what advice would you give others on how to really crack the Chinese market?
Well, my first piece of advice would be understand the Chinese consumer. Do your fact-based knowledge. Don't come in from other markets thinking that a one-size-fits-all approach works. More and more, as I understand the China market, I think it's going to become more regionalized and more diverse. So being able to be flexible, reacting to the market, to be able to change the way your plan is very important.
And finally, the company wants Adidas to be the #1 sports brand by 2020. Do you think you can make that happen in China?
Well, we obviously, hopefully, aspire to that. We're transitioning our 2015 plan to our 2020 plan now. And we have a goal. We want to be the best sports brand in Greater China. And best means best products, best brand experience, best service to our consumers, because by owning hearts and minds of our Chinese consumers, we know that market share and winning will come naturally.
What are you telling Herbert Hainer, the CEO?
What am I telling Herbert? I'm telling Herbert that I'm able to achieve the objectives and goals that I've committed to him in the past few years.
No pressure.
No pressure, not at all.
And that was Colin Curry, Managing Director of Greater China for Adidas. Hope you've enjoyed the program. Join us again next week for more leadership insights on managing Asia. I'm Christine Tan. Thanks for watching.